Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Once again, I'd like to show you exactly how the people get screwed. Now, I hope you and your families are doing okay and not getting screwed, but I just wanted to share this video with you all. I saw this article that my wife sent to me. Says lawyers, others vie for pieces of NFL concussion settlement. I wonder why. The 1 billion NFL concussion settlement, nearly 6 years in the making, yet to deliver a penny to former players and their families for brain injuries stemming from football, is revealing the underbelly of the legal system to former players and their families. As they finally close in on being compensated for brain injuries stemming from football, those former players and their families have been facing an onslaught of issues, from attorney retainer fees that could reach as high as 40% to lawyers poaching clients from competing attorneys, from a slew of opportunists seeking a piece of the pie to lawyers effectively threatening to sue former players to ensure that they get their fees. So now that the kill has been made, the vultures are now surrounding the prey. The vultures who have not even killed the prey are ready to feast, and they haven't done nothing. They haven't endured any injuries, but they're ready to feast. Said this case has done nothing but show lawyers at their worst, said Jason Lukasevic, a Pittsburgh attorney who filed the first concussion-related case against the NFL in 2011 and represents about 500 former players. Said another attorney who spoke to Outside the Lines only on the condition of anonymity. It's a feeding frenzy right now. It's dirty out there and I don't like it. I have to shower twice a day. So I guess this situation is so stink that this guy has to literally think about washing himself and bathing himself twice a day. And if you've ever smelled an NFL player after a game, you'll understand what he's talking about. In 2011, Lukasevic and two other lawyers filed the first of what would become hundreds of lawsuits brought by thousands of former players and their families, alleging that the NFL had concealed the link between football and brain damage. A settlement was announced in 2013. However, initial concerns by the judge overseeing the settlement about its adequacy and a series of objections kept the case from being finalized until just a few months ago. Recent interviews by Outside the Lines with lawyers and wives of former players and a review of dozens of court records, texts, and emails reveal behind-the-scenes clashes that have ratcheted up concerns from families that the lawyers will be the ones mainly cashing in on player payouts. Now, if you sit back and you think about this, this is what happens with basically everything that a lawsuit comes about. If you remember the banking crisis, all these banks robo-signed these letters and went ahead and stole the people properties through fictitious accounting, and they didn't use the gaps, which is a generally applied accounting principles, and they went ahead and caused a stock market crash so they can steal the people houses. And who benefited most from these lawsuits? Billions of dollars went out, but the lawyers were paid. You know, some lawyer company firms received up to $500 million, and the people only got a couple $1,000s out of this thing. So this is what happens every time. When you hear the government say they fine a bank X amount of billions of dollars, the people who they screwed out of their money don't never see none of this money. And here it is, you have another situation here in the NFL where the same old scoundrels called lawyers, and I'm not saying every lawyer is a vulture out there, but the majority of them is a vulture, because guess what? If a person who is a lawyer come back and said, hey, I'm not going to side with these lawyers here, they risk being sabotaged by the other vultures, them who out there just trying to basically eat. And they, next thing you know, you get disbarred or something like that, and you're not a good lawyer anymore, because guess what? These vultures try to set you up and kick you out of the club, because you're in a brothers club now, similar to politics. You know, if one politician is doing something for the good of the people and another one didn't like it because it's taking money from his pocket, what does he do? He tried to smear him in the public by going out there and creating these fictitious information and advertisement, you know, trying to basically demean that other politician. You know, you can't go in a dirty place and expect to clean it when you got the dog shitting everywhere. I mean, that's the real. Let's read on. 2 dozen wives of former players recently sent a plea to the judge overseeing the case, asking her to address concerns that legal fees will be cutting heavily into money that was supposed to go to their families. They cited lawyers charging exorbitant retainer fees to players and their families, despite the same lawyers being eligible to collect from a 112 million fund set aside to pay attorneys who worked on the case. Attorneys also stand to collect an additional 5% surcharge for future work related to the case. So not only are these vultures already getting paid, they already have their money up front. This is already set up for them to do the job. But that ain't enough. The people who are suffering, who actually suffered from this thing, aren't even benefiting from it. Because these lawyers, even though they're gonna get paid millions of dollars, they're not satisfied. They want more money. You know, imagine their bellies are already full even before any money is paid out, but yet still, you know, that's not good enough. Poaching of players and their families by competing attorneys has become so pervasive, with attorneys promising lower contingency fees and bigger payouts, that lawyer on lawyer battles have broken out. Remember what I told you about the dog eat dog, the politician and politician? Here it is. Putting players in the middle of the dispute. So now the injured player is in the middle of a fight that he bound to get injured again, whether spiritually or physically. Blows might be thrown or brain damage might happen because of the emotion. A slew of motions have been filed by lawyers seeking to place liens on the players who left them so they can collect a percentage of the former client's award. Players and their families worry they will be left with little after they pay off the current and former lawyers. So here it is, a player is suffering from brain damage, and he's going to have more brain damage because of the stress from these vultures called lawyers, sucking every bit of the money that they need, probably for medical costs and for rehabilitation from them brain damage that they're suffering. So now your headache turned from a migraine to a super migraine because of these vultures. They're picking at the flesh, the people's flesh while they're alive and killing them. A virtual cottage industry of opportunist lawyers, doctors, predatory lenders, and other professionals have cropped up. Imagine lawyers, doctors, predatory lenders. Notice they all wear the same suit now. Don't forget the bankers and the politicians. Throw all of them cronies up inside of there together. All of them. You got a website called Hang the Bankers, and the truth be told, you need to throw all the rest of these cronies up inside of there. The lead counsel in the case has sought injunctions against at least 2 companies, asking the judge to punish them for using false and misleading tactics to try to gain business. Christopher Seeger, the founding partner of Seeger Weiss in New York and the architect of the billion-dollar settlement between the players and the NFL, has extensive experience leading massive class action lawsuits. He told Outside the Lines the amount of poaching of clients is unprecedented. Let's don't just stop here when it comes to poaching of clients. All of those people athletes who go to the NFL, the NBA, and many of these sports have these same crony lawyers, these same vultures out there that steal these people money before they even make a dime. And that's the reason why many of these players end up broke. Because we look at them and we see grown men. But if you check their age, these guys are about 20, between the age of, you could say 20 and 25. that get suckered. So by the time they reach 30, if they sustain an injury, they're not eligible for no retirement. And all the money the lawyers already done gone with. Because they busy playing, they can't really, manage the money. So they put that in the hands of people who are already done corrupt. And what do? They sucker and steal and plunder and poach. Poaching is a legal thing because what it does, it wipes out more than it's supposed to. People poach not because animals are in overpopulation. They poach because whatever they're going to collect from these animals gives them more money. So they overkill. And this is an overkill right here. I've seen it in the past, but not even close to this, Seeger said. I think it's mostly a function of the fact that it's former NFL players. Lawyers really gravitate towards them, like representing them, like being around them and saying they represent them. So let me read that again. Lawyers really gravitate towards them and like representing them, like being around them and saying they represent them. There's just something about this NFL case that attracts it. No, it ain't even that what he's talking about. The reality of it is this. There's money involved and the economy has gone to hell and high waters. It's gone to the dumpster. And these guys see a way to make easy money. And wherever the easy money is, because of the way the economy is, it's stagnating, it's not going nowhere. That's exactly why the vultures are surrounded. The preys are getting basically fewer and fewer. So whenever they see a prey somewhere, a big fat buffalo somewhere, a big fat dead elephant somewhere, that can't even help themselves, or an elephant or a buffalo that's about to die, here comes the vultures, because it's feast time. At the core of the dispute is the $112 million set aside for lawyers who played roles in negotiating the settlement. That money is being paid by the NFL. Apart from that, plaintiffs' attorneys have individual retainer fees ranging anywhere from 15 to 40% for work done on behalf of their clients, according to some plaintiffs and court filings. That cut is expected to come out of whatever monies the player or their families are awarded. So not only are these cronies already getting money already, like I said, they're getting ready to actually collect even more. And here's a picture of a player for the Carolina Panthers knocked out cold, face down. And I ain't see no lawyer around besides other player wondering if they gonna get their backside knocked out too. Ain't no lawyers here in the field, but guess what? The vultures are ready to collect. They ain't suffer nothing. They talking about their time. These guys invested time in their whole life. And some of them on die from their brain damage. And all they're asking for is a little compensation to pay the same crony and crooked doctors who basically are diagnosing them for injuries that they never had to begin with, but are getting paid just because these guys here are using their talent or their skill to make money. So everybody's sitting around getting ready to collect while this man here is truly as a slave, putting his whole life on the line, and he ain't going to even get paid for none of the work done. That's why it ain't even good to go fight nobody's war, man. So it's a waste of time. You put your life on the line while somebody back there talking about how the war should be played out, and you dead and your family don't collect nothing from it. In the case of about 2,000 law enforcement, attorneys stand to collect both from the $112 million fund and from their individual clients. Seeger, who says he has only about 2,000 clients, has said he will not collect on individual retainers. In 2013, Outside the Lines reported that he tried to do so from at least one client. Seeger said it had been a mistake. Within hours of the story being reported, the judge appointed a special master to evaluate financial aspects of the settlement. The $112 million lawyer fund and a 5% surcharge still require court approval. Last week, Liz Nicholson Sullivan says she coordinated a phone call with about 40 wives of former NFL players who are eligible to receive payouts from the settlement. Sullivan's husband, Jerry, was an offensive lineman with the Browns from 1974 to 81. By 2005, doctors had determined Sullivan had a total and permanent disability related to chronic brain injury from playing football. As with many of the former players, Sullivan, now unable to handle his affairs, turned the management of his legal case over to his wife. When Liz and the other woman spoke on the phone, they all shared similar stories of being solicited by other lawyers and predatory lenders, of feeling like they were being overcharged, of concerns that attorneys would be getting rich off their cases while they continued to scramble to pay for care. The vultures have surrounded the dying prey. These women don't even have money to help their husband, and they find a way where to hold the NFL accountable, but yet still, the cronies and vultures are ready to suck everything out of them. Do you hear that great song inside? Oh, yeah, that's a lawyer. And he got a big old vacuum cleaner ready to even suck the brain out of the dying player. They were, they were all well aware of the circumstances of Kevin Turner, a former running back who was a class representative in the case and died last year from ALS. Turner's estate is battling with Stephen Marks of the firm Potters Orsec. As one of the lead attorneys in the case, Marks stands to collect from the $112 million the NFL has committed to plaintiff lawyers. But according to court filings, Marks' separate retainer agreement with Turner also would entitle him to 40% of the $5 million the estate is in line to receive. Now, don't forget this $5 million settlement, they still got to pay taxes on it. They ain't never said it was tax-free. So after he collects 40%, which is about $2 million, then they have to still turn around and pay taxes upon every dollar they spend. So this crook is going to collect $2 million for less than, well, for, I guess it's 6 years work. And I guess that's the reason why they want to go ahead and keep rolling it on, because guess what? The longer it go, the more fees each of these clients going to have to pay. Them lawyers going to basically say, well, you know, I've been working on this for 6 years, so I deserve 50% next. They might not say they deserve 50%, but by the time they go ahead and put in their hours, it's been rolled on so long that these cronies, nobody can tell exactly how the contract is set up. These cronies probably going to make 70%. Mark stated in filing his firm only intend to take 25%. Yeah, you could say whatever you want. The truth is, it's not actually written nowhere. And your word ain't really being recorded nowhere. So you could say whatever you want. The New York Daily News First reported the dispute. In a letter sent to Judge Anita Brody, dated March 20th and signed by Liz Nickerson Sullivan and dozens of other women, the wives referred to the Turner case and said they felt compelled as a group of plaintiffs' wives to ensure that the court is aware of the extensive of thousands of similar fee disputes among class plaintiffs and class counsel involved in the settlement. The letter added, for many of us, our husband's medical care is dependent upon these monetary rewards, and they cannot survive another delay. As wives and caregivers, we have struggled to keep the family unit intact on a shoestring budget while managing the burden of their costly care. Yep, because them doctors ain't no different from them lawyers. Oh, you're part of that case over there? But guess what? You know, that little glove that we use just to touch him, that's going to be about $25. It used to be $2. You know, that syringe that we got to go ahead and pull his blood, yep, that used to be $15, but try $150. Them is another set of vultures that going to suck them dry. Our husbands need every penny they are entitled to receive out of this settlement. Many of our men are now either gone or completely lost to us. See that? So them guys suffered all of this here. And them guys can't even respond to, hey, honey, I love you. And honey, you want something to eat? They probably don't even say nothing. They probably just stare at their wives. Can you imagine somebody just that you used to talk to and all of that there, and you can't even talk to them no more? We have chosen to stand by them because we realize they are victims. Yep, they are victims. They've been taken advantage of. You know, and let's not forget, some of these wives probably stand to gain from this, but the truth is they were married to their husbands for the long haul. And I can't sit here and say that these women are just gouging their husband because they're fighting for something also. So we know for a fact that they wouldn't be sticking around trying to take care of these men. Matter of fact, they were taking care of them probably before they even filed this lawsuit. Tia McNeil was among those who signed the letter. McNeil's husband Fred played 12 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings and died in 2015 after suffering for years from dementia. The guy couldn't even he can't even remember nothing. Then the McNeils are represented by Lukasevic, and while Tia says she has great respect for the efforts and time Lukasevic has put into the case, she's struggling with the idea that Lukasevic will get a cut of the 112 million while still taking 25% of their payout. That's crazy. I feel like we're represented, and I feel like we were represented and taken care of, and now there is contention with the person repping you, McNeil says. This was his case. He filed this for his firm, so part of me feels bad for him, but it doesn't feel 25% bad for him. I'm just being honest. That's crazy right there. Lukasevic, who says he first started exploring a possible suit against the NFL back in 2006, said he understands the frustration but insists he stands to get very little from the 112 million lawyer fund. A filing with the court suggests he could end up with about 700,000, which he said is a pittance from the number of hours he has put into the case. Yeah, that's true, because other vultures have come in there and took the case and basically watered it down because of their greed. They haven't put in no time in whatsoever. So now they're going to cut into his time and his money, because the fact is now there's more vultures to pay. When the carcass is big and other vultures come flying down, your money gets small. I'm wondering why he don't go to the judge and say to him, hey, look, these guys only put in 1 hour and they ain't do nothing. And they come in and they're trying to take some of this money. You should go ahead and bar some of them from even being part of this here. I'll waive the common benefit money so I can get 25%, said Lukasevic, whose fury is mostly directed at Seeger and the leaders of the case. What the hell? I have 1.7 million of my firm's costs into this case, and I'm going to get 700,000? Charles Zimmerman says his firm, Zimmerman Reed LLP, represents about 350 to 400 players. Zimmerman stands to benefit significantly from the 112.5 million fund, as well as through individual retainer fees, but he says that's not unusual or problematic in his class action cases. That's not double dipping, Zimmerman told Outside the Lines. It happens in every case. No, it's double dipping. If you stand to make most of the money, especially, and you didn't put in all the time like everybody else, obviously you're using your smarts or your wit or your cronyism to go in and then sucker money from everybody. You're talking about ain't double dipping. You're the vulture who belly is full and still think that you could go ahead and take some. It's a wonder you don't vomit all that money back up. He said that in a different case he worked on. The common benefit fund applied to people who did common benefit work, and the contingency was for individual contracts with clients. You can't get paid twice for the same work. You can get paid for each. So I guess he's saying that he went ahead and got more people, and that's how he's getting his money, which is smart. They're very separate. You're getting paid to do work on an individual's medical case, submitting it for compensation, and advising and directing the individual injury case through different channels it has to go through to get it paid. That happens in law, in every fund that you've ever seen develop in a mass tort case. Lukasevic and other lawyers have complained that Seeger is effectively the puppet master over the 112.5 million. Assuming the judge approves the plan, Seeger will oversee the distribution of the money. Lukasevic believes he should be compensated for the thousands of hours he spent researching and building towards filing in 2011. If he really believes that to be true, said Seeger, he needs to file the papers and make the argument to the judge and ask her to award him whatever he thinks is fair. Seeger also suggesting that Lukasevic has overstated his value to the case. It's amazing that I'm seeing this here because, the slaves had put in the most hours here to build America, to build Egypt, to build Babylon, to build all of these places, And it don't matter how many hours those slaves put in. The judges, the reward was never paid out to the slaves. It was never paid out to the people who put in the most hours. It was always paid out to the people who used their wits and their smarts to steal, to poach, to plunder. It was never paid out to the people who worked the hardest. Matter of fact, the NFL is the same way. It's not paid out to the players who sacrifice the most. It's paid out to the CEOs and the team owners, and and the ones who go out there and do all the recruiting. They're the ones who make the most money. The players and the coaches, the ones who put in the most hours, they're the ones actually who get suckered. So, Seager is not telling a lie. He's telling you it's not the fact that, you put in all them hours, it's the fact that I'm smart. I'm using my smart. I go and I review this thing and I'm making money because I see exactly where the money's at, and that's exactly where I'm gonna put my service up inside of there. That's something that all of us could learn from. Lukasiewicz, several other lawyers, and many of the wives interviewed are particularly angered at the additional 5% holdback that Seager has requested to cover future legal work that could be done over the 65 years the deal is in place. 65 years, wow. Then people are going to receive pennies on the dollar. So if you divide 5 million by 65 years, man, these people ain't standing to make nothing. 65 years. Some of these wives going to be dying before that too. Court records show the 5%, which could amount to as much as 50 million, would be drawn from the individual player, from the individual lawyer's retainer fees rather than from the player's awards. Or if a player is working without an attorney, it would come out of their share. Why would they need an extra 5% when they spent all that time negotiating for 112 million, said Katharina Waters, a lawyer who represented served players in disability claims and is working pro bono in a concussion case for Steve Smith, a former NFL running back suffering from ALS. Waters, whose husband is former NFL running back Ricky Waters, helped draft the letter with Nicholson, and she says she told the wives their focus now should be less on any ire they feel towards the league and more on what the lawyers are doing to our players, what they are continuing to take. That's true because the league already decided, hey, we find ourselves partially responsible. We're going to pay some money out. But now the vultures them say, no. We're going to take what's left. I ain't even want the players to get nothing. I want to collect my money. Several lawyers, including Lukasiewicz, filed objections to the 5% holdback, asking the judge either to dump it altogether or reduce it to as low as 1%. You want my $700,000 from the common fund, Chris? Have it. Choke on it, says Lukasiewicz. Just don't take 5% of my hard work. You didn't put this case together. You didn't sign up guys that were truly injured. You didn't rep them for 5.5 years. I did that work. Don't go reaching into my pants. Said Seager, we believe the set aside is appropriate, as substantial future efforts will be necessary for the common benefit of the class over the 65-year life of the settlement. The funny thing is this. Seager looks like he went and even got new players inside of this thing, which ain't really got nothing to do with that because the NFL needs to negotiate something for the newer players. They're supposed to be for the former players. Seager looked like he went and he took everything, the kitchen sink, the fridge, the stove, water faucet, water lines, everything. And he said, look, I'm going to throw everybody up in there and have them collect some money too. So this guy here, I don't know. Wolf in sheep clothing, snake in the grass. I don't know what you want to call him. Maybe we'll figure it out later on. Seager has engendered considerable enmity from fellow attorneys throughout the case, and his request for his share of the 112.5 million probably has done nothing to ease those feelings. He calculated his firm put in more than 21,000 hours over the past 4 years. Now that sounds ridiculous in a sense though, but anyway, I guess he counted every hour that didn't even exist. 21,000. Dude, are you counting hours that don't even exist in 4 years? If you get, I don't even know if that's the right amount of hours that he's amassing. But anyway, amassing $18,124,869.10, even down to the dime in fees alone. Seager himself billed for 6,955 hours, man, or the equivalent of 294 days at a rate of $985 an hour for approximately $6,851,561.50 in fees. The petition for fees asked the judge to assign a multiplier of 2.6 to the fees and expenses, which, if applied, would garner Seager's firm more than $51 million of cheese. In addition to playing a lead role in the lawsuit against the NFL, Seager and his firm, according to the firm's website, have had ongoing leadership roles over the past several years in dozens of class action cases, including several involving pharmaceutical products. Yep, the doctors are screwing you too. Hey, I'm going to trick you and tell you got a disease or a problem or ailment, and then I'm going to treat you for it. You want this candy? Yeah, you love this candy, don't you? It's sweet. It's only going to give you high blood pressure, diabetes, liver disease, and all these other stuff, colon cancer, all of that stuff. But hey, it's going to taste good while you get it, though. Asked about his fees and the amount of money he stands to gain from the NFL case, Seager said, I can tell you 100% confidently that I work exclusively on the NFL for 2 years. Yep, and you're still working on them too. You're working on them. I'm paying you the most of that money. I could tell you that. I lived this case and I'm still kind of living it. You're right. You lived it and you're living it. That's exactly what people said when they done sucker other people out of their money. I'm living this life now, boy. Suge Knight took all of Tupac's money, left him with about 75 grand, and he was living the life. And now they locked him up. They should go ahead and throw the case for killing Tupac on top of him. The scripture says, woe unto you lawyers. And I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to show it to you. Woe unto you lawyers. Hold on right a minute. So the scripture says in Luke 11:46, this is Messiah speaking, and he said, woe unto you also, ye lawyers, for you laid men with burdens grievous to be borne, and you yourself touch not the burdens with one of your fingers. And that's the truth. These lawyers didn't take none of the punishment that these guys have taken. But yet still, the families who have taken all of this punishment still have to deal with the grievous burdens of the lawyers stealing from them, taking their money, the money that they deserve, that they need to keep their family alive, to survive. Here comes the lawyers putting another burden upon them, another burden, with their theft and with their poaching. In Luke 11:52 it says, woe unto you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. You entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in you hindered. And if you read the rest of the scriptures, you would see that even some of these Pharisees and scribes, many of them had to been lawyers also. And he says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are as graves which appear not, and the men that walk over them are not aware of them. Lawyers are the same way. They are like graves that appear not. So when you go and you deal with some of these lawyers, you end up stumbling and falling. And many of graves have rocks and pointed surface, and you end up getting chopped and your head busted open and all kind of stuff. Lawyers, same thing, just like the scribes and Pharisees. Woe unto you, for you build the sepulchres of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. Well, guess what? Many of these players are ancient Israelites. They might never know, but they're the ones that you're killing. You all go, just like you kill the prophets. Many of these probably are descendants of prophets. I don't know. It's probably in their blood. But the truth be told, they're ignorant themselves, according to Deuteronomy 28. They don't know who they are. And they go and they play for you, just like in the Apocrypha talks about, you had your gymnasium, your big old, sports arena, and, you forced our men to never been circumcised and stuff, to give away the covenant of our forefathers just to play your sports. And that's exactly what we see today. And in Rome, it used to be called the Colosseum, Over here, what do they call it? They call it a dome or something like that. It's the same thing. You know, these lawyers are the ones, they go and negotiate contracts and stuff for these players, and they do what? Siphon them out of 60 to 80% of the money. When them guys retire, they don't have nothing left. But they made a big sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? This is what our players have to deal with. This is what people have to deal with when they're dealing with these vultures. Now I'm going to read one more. One more. This is by Solomon in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. And I said in my heart, the Almighty shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. I said in my heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that Almighty might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. For that which befalleth the sons of men, befalleth beasts. Even one thing befalleth them, as the one died, so died the other. Yea, they have all one breath, so that a man had no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity. All go unto one place, all are of the dust, and all turn to dust again. Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth? Wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his portion. For who shall bring him to see what shall be after him? And I think that is right, that these NFL players and whoever put in the work shall get the opportunity to rejoice in their own works. And with that, I say to each and every one of you, share this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and may the Most High be with you and your families, to bless, to protect you, and to provide for you always. And with that, I say shalom, and have a good one.